All right, it's about high noon, Saturday, September 16th. A little later than I'm usually heading out. Got down to the boat a little bit late. Had a few chores I wanted to do. Wanted to wash down the top sides, fill up the freshwater tank, and then inspect the Autopilot, which was not working last time I was out. Unfortunately, Autopilot is not working. I thought it was a, there's a switch. So when you engage the Autopilot, you pull that Morse cable up, and that mechanically engages the ram drive, which is below decks. And there's also an electronic switch. So when you pull that Morse code up, it activates the switch. The switch tells the Autopilot that that mechanical linkage is there. So it's kind of a safety mechanism. And initially I suspected that there was a issue with the switch. And when I try and activate the Autopilot, it just says no pilot on the computer. And I believe I've seen that symptom before. We'll try it right now. No pilot. No bueno. So we don't have any Autopilot, which really sucks because you know, things like putting up the sails, taking a quick bio break, those types of things become quite a bit more complicated when you have to keep your hand on the wheel at all times. You have a big tanker parked, moored right outside of Cabrillo Marina here in San Pedro, LA Harbor. So just for the record, I'm going to say we're going to take on 55 to 57 gallons of diesel. 55 on the low, 57 on the high. So I look at the fuel consumption percentage and how many engine hours, you know, with my engine log, and then from there I'll figure out how much did I burn since the last time I filled up. I can look at my mileage, but you know, I want to say 0.69 gallons per hour. 0.7 is roughly what I burn, you know, give or take. Could be higher or lower depending on, you know, conditions and how hard I'm motoring, whether I've got the sails up assisting, those types of things. Because I could burn over a gallon an hour, I could burn under a half gallon an hour. So for planning purposes, I usually just plan and say, okay, a gallon an hour. So for every gallon I have in the tank, I've got an hour's worth of run time. And that's pretty conservative, and that's enough to give me a little bit of a reserve. And then I kind of plan my average speed. So, you know, quite often I'll go faster than this, but so this is pretty conservative, but I will plan 5.6 knots as my average kind of plan speed when I'm planning a route. So if I take, you know, 5.6 times 90, or if I just round it and I say, you know, 5 times 90, that's 450 miles of straight motoring, likely with some reserve. Now, I would never deliberately try and run the tank that far down, but that gives you a pretty good idea of what kind of range this has over motor. If you think about 90 hours, that's that is a long time under motor non-stop if you're motoring somewhere. 3 days is what, 72? So you've got 3 days of motoring solid with plenty of reserve after that. So really rough terms, if I wanted to motor at cruising RPMs with a full tank, I could motor for 3 days and not really worry about whether I'm going to run out of fuel or not. Know that I would have some reserve. That's pretty good for a sailboat. Now, if I get any sailing in there, if I'm motor sailing and I get an assist, I'm going faster and everything like that, or if I'm just pure sailing, you know, you can really really get a pretty wide range on this. All right, so a couple things. Let's take a look at our receipt and see how close we were on the fuel prediction here. Remember I said 55 to 57 gallons. 58.1. Pretty close. Okay, it's 10 after 1 p.m. We're out full canvas. Full main, full 135 Genoa. Should have filmed it as a little bit of work, keeping the boat straight while I was pulling up the sails. But we're pretty well trimmed in at this point. Everything's looking good. Like the way the Genoa's flying right now. And we're making just a hair under 6 knots, give or take. With the wind at, I don't know, the high 50s or mid 50 to 60% apparent. So I like this tack. Everything's super smooth. It's really comfortable. I think we're gonna go ahead and go to White Cove. That's our decision. Kind of wanted to go to Emerald Bay and go snorkeling, but by the time I get there, you know, it'll be later in the afternoon and it's gloomy out. So that's okay. We're gonna be steering by hand, so there's not gonna be much screwing around, leaving the helm. Might miss a few filming opportunities here, but that's all right. This is a super nice sail so far. All right, 25 after 1, we're out of Angel's Gate. Sails are up, we're sailing. Now we're thinking about shipping lanes. We have a cargo ship coming in. He's of no concern, but then just the other side of the Cat Express there, another cargo ship. A little bit further out, that's the Mandarin. And that is a 186 meter cargo vessel. They're doing 10 knots. This is telling me a CPA of 1.3 to 1.4 or so. So we want to generally stay about 2 miles away from these dudes. That's kind of my rule of thumb. He's doing about 10 knots. He's going faster than me. We're under sail. We've got the rule of tonnage in play, and these guys are just getting underway from Long Beach, I think. So likely we are going to divert to port and make sure that we go well astern of them. So that would mean a little bit of a starboard to starboard. I think we've got a little bit of time to work with them. It's see, the time to CPA is about 15 minutes. So we'll just keep an eye on him right now. He could be passing in front of us. I can look at the bearing and all of that and tell for sure here with a little bit of minor effort. And as long as we're going to clear astern of him, we're all good. By the way, I used my Nikon, has probably can't see that very well, but I saw about 128 degrees, give or take, bearing over to the Mandarin. And if that number is, we're gonna watch and see if that number is going up or going down. That'll give us an idea of whether we're gonna pass in front or astern. Also with AIS, so 132. So that's the cheater method, is we can just look at the bearing and we can tell if that number is staying the same. We're on a collision course. If it's going up, then we're gonna be okay, and if it's going down, we're gonna be okay. But if it's going up, then he's probably going to pass in front of us. This angle looks like the Mandarin and that other cargo ship are passing each other pretty close port to port. They're actually about a nautical mile away from each other. So I went ahead and took her down about 20 degrees just to make sure we had plenty to clear. His bearing continues to climb, especially with us turning to port a little bit to make sure that we clear. We're going to be well astern of the Mandarin, and as soon as he gets kind of in front of us, we'll start getting back on course. But there's the island. We're not off course too much. There's the Mandarin crossed in front of us. There's a power boat over there. Looks like he's relatively close, so not sure what's going on there. That's a mile distance from us to the Mandarin. Yeah, I was wondering why this fishing boat, why these guys didn't move. They're at anchor fishing right at the edge of the shipping lanes here at about 463 feet of depth. So they must have a ton of road out there. They're not pretty far, but see where we are relative to the shipping lanes right now. That pink, purple, whatever you want to call that in the middle is the buffer zone between the shipping lanes. And this is the guy that that's the Mandarin right over there. Little seabirds flying through. They're gonna land right in front of us and we'll kick them up. Don't want to disturb them. 3 o'clock update. We're about 9 nautical miles from White Cove, and we are doing about 6 knots and close to 10 knots of wind. Wind died down a couple knots and picked up a couple knots. It's been fluctuating, but it's been just like this, really mostly flat, pretty easy water, not too much in terms of wind waves or swell. It's been super comfortable flying over. I've seen very little traffic, a little bit, but not much, heading out to the island, and the radio's been pretty, there's somebody now, but the radio's been relatively quiet. We have another sailboat coming across right now, headed the opposite direction. Nice cutter rig. It's 4 o'clock, 3.7 nautical miles to White Cove. Pretty good view of all the boats there in front of us. That's White Cove. We eased the sails out a little bit, so the wind started lifting a little bit. So we're actually running at like 80 degrees apparent wind angle. I could actually put these sails out a bit more, but I did ease the sails a little. And we picked speed back up again. We were doing about 6, give or take a point or 2. So we're making pretty decent speed in about 10 knots of wind. So I'll take it. It's 5 o'clock, actually a couple minutes later. Heard all the horns going off. Standard Catalina Island tradition here. So I got him in 113 feet. Burning daylight pulled up right in front of me. I think they're in front of my anchor. I hope so. Yeah, pulled in right inside of us. I tried to pick a spot. I knew it was in deep water so I could get the spot to myself, and sure enough, someone anchored right next to me. We got space though. There are a couple. All right, brief cooking with keel dragger. So I've got a marinated chicken breast on the grill, and it's about done. So didn't have time to have lunch because the autopilot wasn't working, and spent like 5 hours. Probably by the time I got fuel and everything like that, at least 5 hours standing behind the wheel with no brakes or anything like that. So kind of a long shift to get over here, getting a little hungry. So we'll do an early dinner and then figure out what our next move is gonna be. All right, here we are, marinated chicken breast and lima beans. So the Admiral doesn't really care for lima beans that much, but I like them, so here we are. So one thing I do just to relieve stress, because I keep the dinghy inflated on the foredeck all the time, is I just let a little bit of air partially deflate it, and then I have to inflate it again when I use it. That way, just when it gets hot and stuff, it doesn't overpressure or anything like that. So this is a high pressure inflatable floor. This goes to 10 psi. And then each of these tubes go to 3 psi, as does the little seat in the middle. Really like that little Serene Life battery operated pump. So you just set the pressure and it inflates to the pressure that you set at, and then it automatically shuts off, which is pretty cool. All right, it's about 20 till 10. Just got back from sailing vessel Shearwater. Great visit with the crew there. I'm gonna sleep well, I think, tonight. It's pretty peaceful at the Anchorage, which is pretty cool. So that's about it for tonight. Keel Dragger out. All right, cooking with Keel Dragger. I went for kind of a low effort, really simple breakfast today. So it's got some of this Jimmy Dean pre-cooked sausage that I'm cooking, and we're just gonna make a little bit of a sandwich out of it. So I've got some Dave's Killer bread. Like, this stuff's like, I don't know, $7 a loaf or something crazy like that. But it is like the best bread. So we'll have put a little slice of cheese on it. And that's going to be about it. So super simple breakfast. And then we'll start thinking about how we're going to get out of here this morning. So it's about 10 till 9 a.m. Usually I'm on my way by now. But I had kind of a funny episode last night. So I think because I was standing for hours and hours and hours yesterday without the autopilot working, I wound up getting a cramp in my calf last night, and this aft cabin's kind of small, so you're kind of stuck in this coffin, and the only way to get out is to bend your leg to get out of the aft cabin. And with that cramp, I struggled a little bit. I was able to do it, but I think it was probably looked pretty ridiculous. And then I was, up for a couple of hours. So I slept in, just had breakfast, was looking around. This has been one of, aside from the leg cramp issue, not getting sleep from that, this has been like one of the most peaceful evenings I've had a while in Anchorage. So from that standpoint, really nice. We got to pull the dinghy in. I turned on all the electronics. I'm pretty excited because the Autopilot controller, instead of saying no pilot, now says standby, which is what I want. So I think what I determined there is it's not the switch on the quadrant with the RAM that engages that's failing. It's probably some other kind of a networking issue. But you can see where it says standby there. That's a real good sign. So we may have Autopilot on the way back. The bad news is, somewhere in there, I think one of the devices in the chain for CTalk is flaking out a little bit, and then trying to debug which one that is could be a little bit of a mystery. So that troubleshooting could be a little bit gnarly. So now I'm thinking about things like eventually I'm going to rip all this stuff out and put in NEMA 2000. It's just a question of when I want to make the investment. Everything instrument-wise is working right now, except for the speedo, and the hull is just fouled up a little bit. Needs to be cleaned so it'll spin freely. But other than that, everything's been working, and it all integrates with my NEMA 2000 router, which will take CTalk, and NEMA 0183 puts all the data available in NEMA 2000. So the chart plotters get everything from the legacy Raymarine instruments, but then it's also all available over Wi-Fi too. So it's that, you know, everything else is working perfectly except for this last couple of flakes with the autopilot. So once I do the autopilot, I'm probably going to redo the anemometer, the wind speed indicator at the top of the mast. Then I'm probably going to redo, well, you can't see it behind all the crap, but there's 3 instruments there for wind speed depth. I'll replace those with B&G Tritons, most likely NEMA 2000, rewire all that. So that's all in the longer term plan. It's just, you know, trying to decide when I want to, you know, one, make the effort, to make the investment. I think the you know, the bigger issue right now is probably just from a timing perspective. I have other priorities of things I want to do on the boat first. So the autopilot may bump the priority up. We'll see how it works today. All right, this is the lift by hand. We'll use the winch to raise her up and then put her on the deck. Piece of cake. All right, that was easy. Dinghy's on board. Next, we'll light the fires and take the anchor up, and then we're ready to bounce. Oops, let's try that again. Speeding up a little bit. We'll see if the chain castles are folds nicely in there, but anchor's off the bottom. Actually, a good noise to hear. So close. Oh, we didn't make it. Look at that. All right, we're going to do a little drive-by past the sailing vessel Shearwater on our way out. A good evening chatting with Travis and crew. This is Islander Freeport 41, I believe. Tons of room. Cool boat. Nice center cockpit. Really a great boat. Adios, White Cove and Hen Rock over where we anchored. All right, look at this, Ma. No hands. The autopilot's working. Fingers crossed. Let's hope we can chill. I see a little bit of a wind line, so there's not much wind to speak of here. See a little bit of a wind line, so we might have some light winds. We'll think about whether we want to put the main up or screw around with that. I'm looking at the wind right now. The parent, whatever there is right on the nose. It's not going to do us much good. And there aren't any swells to speak of at the moment. I know we're a little bit protected, but when we get out there, it looks like everything's pretty flat with a super light breeze. If, you know, if all the appearance on our nose, we're just, and it's flat, we'll just keep motoring. The wind comes up. The forecast does say 10 to 20 knots this afternoon. Then, you know, we'll do some sailing. Yesterday, actually, at one point, I think the forecast said 10 to 20. You know, we were seeing 8 to 12, closer to 8 to 10 most of the trip over, so it was pretty light winds. All right, not much wind, a little bit, but let's go ahead and put the main up. Got the boom crutch. Watch out for the boom swinging across. Keep her head down.
Roger, it's pronounced J-H-O-C, Juliet, at USTG.mil. Midnight voyage, Roger. Good copy. You said there were...
Fucking hell.
On this, was there any marine growth around it? Couldn't tell that there was marine growth. This bird sitting on it, it just looked like it had been in the water for a while, older horseshoe. I copy you 169 928 2129.
Just for the record, I do not condone violence, but if anyone ever suggests that you put any kind of mast steps up your mast, I would suggest you smack them in the face, because these things are the biggest liability everywhere. I mean, if you saw me raising the main, one of the situations I was dealing with is the halyard getting caught up around these mast steps. So I had to continuously go forward to clear the halyard. It's a little easier with two people because someone can kind of pull tension when you clear it. But, you know, imagine being out to sea on a strong passage and you're trying to reef and stuff like that, and you get your halyard caught up and it's blowing like hell, and it's a safety issue. And how many times really are you going to climb up the mast? Not very often. It could happen, but I think you're better off investing in you know, some climbing gear, a good bosun's chair, and not screwing around with this, because these don't create a ton of windage because they're just like these little kind of short steps that pull out, but it sucks. So I'm listening to a little bit of a, well, maybe rescue is a bit of an overstretch, but Coast Guard and Isthmus Baywatch involved. There's a 37-foot sailboat motor sailing into the isthmus, taking on water, and they haven't found the source of the water. And I'll say I'm happy that while this guy, I think, has a short or maybe a kind of a bad connection on his VHF, he's able to communicate, and he knows where he's at. He's able to communicate which direction he's headed. I don't know if he's got a GPS or not, though, because they're having him do a countdown. He says he's got AIS on too, so that's good. We'll see if we can see him on AIS from here if he's heading into the isthmus. So he said he's about a mile out from Bird Rock, which is right here. If he's coming from MDR, he's going to be up here, around here somewhere, past Ship Rock. And either I'm not receiving well or he's not broadcasting well, because I would expect to see him at this point, unless he's already kind of behind these rocks, behind land. So where are we at? We're right here. So actually we would, you know, have a pretty good position on him. And then this one here, we'll see what this boat is. Doing 20 knot speed over ground, Class A. I am going to guess that when these guys broadcast a little bit longer, we'll get the name, but I'm going to guess that that boat right there is a boat that's going to try and assist these guys. I'm going to guess that this 338-145-697 is Baywatch Isthmus, because 20 knots Class A, so it's not a Class B, so it's probably not a recreational vessel. So we'll see what happens there. All right, so I've kind of confirmed that this is the Isthmus Baywatch lending assistance. They've slowed down a lot, and they've said on the radio that they're on scene. They're only 7 miles away from us. I'll zoom out a little. So here we are over here, and that's where they are. Now it's interesting that this guy said he had AIS, and his VHF transmissions have been super poor. They've been like breaking up, and so I don't think he's transmitting well. Now my AIS receive, if I zoom out, I can see boats. I mean, here's a ship 28 nautical miles away. There's one, I guess 17 nautical miles away. Here's a boat on the backside. It's usually you can't see because VHF's line of sight. So I've got really pretty solid range on my AIS, but that guy's not coming in. There is a rissos dolphin. Haven't had too many dolphin sightings in a while. These have almost like a bright kind of white color to them. Four knots, maybe a little bit more. I'm gonna go ahead and cut the engine. We'll go ahead and try this. Looks like we're moving okay. My vessel's stranded. Let's see. Here's the test. Can you tell them their location?
Have them go sail. Roger, go with the coordinates. North 33 degrees 51.659. West 118 degrees 26.360.
Bravo. Almost 11 a.m. Trying to figure out what to do here. This is the current situation. Wind's all but died down. There's just a little breath of breeze right now. If I look further out, I see a little bit darker water over there, so it feels like we have, when I look behind us, I can see some ripples on the water. It feels like we have a little bit more of a breeze there. My hope is that this will continue to come. This is the direction the wind's coming, so I'm hoping it fills in a little bit. All right, throwing the towel on sailing for a little while. We're back to motor sailing. Main is up. We're doing about 6 knots. Still no wind. 10 after 11. We haven't had too many dolphin visits for a while. I don't know if these guys are hanging out or if they're just passing through. It looks more like they're passing through. Let's see if any of them are social and come hang off our bow, but I think these guys could care less. Nothing on the bow. Oh, there's one that just jumped. Here comes one. A couple of them. Looks like 3 or 4 of them came and gave us a look, and I could see one of them took a crap. A little cloud in the water behind it. So I don't know if that's a sign to me or not. I'm a little offended. So 11 miles out, give or take. And while it's, you know, it's pretty dreary and it looks like there could be rain in some spots, super clear. Visibility is great. So we can see San Pedro, Long Beach pretty clear. We can see the oil platforms really clearly. Palos Verdes, we can see the island clearly behind us. About 12 nautical miles or so, 11 behind us. Super clear. And I've been watching a little bit to see, hoping to see a whale. It's been a little while since we've had a whale sighting. I think since the water's pretty flat and the visibility's good, maybe the lighting's not great, but this could be a good day to see a whale. Sighting off the port. I don't know if they were dolphins or if that was a fluke of a whale. Hard to tell from this distance, so we're going to keep an eye on this. and see if we see a spout or something cool, or if we see any dolphins popping up. Not going to show up. Way in the distance, see some boats. Just to the right of that, some birds circling. Too far. Confirmed whale spout sighting. There it is again, right over there. And there's the fluke. Okay, there's two whales. They're headed towards the island, so they're headed south and we're headed north. So I don't think we're gonna get a closer look at them. Just when I was, there's a good spout right there. And we'll see if the second one pops up. All right, there's one. Maybe they're humpback whales. So that's the third whale I've seen. There was a big fluke. So that one might not be coming back up for a while. But just see that like sailboat over by Palos Verdes, like way out there. So somewhere between us and there in that general area. I don't know if we're gonna get another sighting of that whale. Coming up on our noon report. We're in the shipping lanes, not much to really speak of concern. There's a cargo ship there, the Ukol Malaysia, and their CPA is a little over 6 miles, so we're not concerned about them. They are way out of there. And over to starboard, I don't see too much going on. So, you know, something could still come out of Angel's Gate as we're coming in. We'll keep an eye open, but right now it's pretty clear. No real wind to speak of. 6.14 nautical miles to Angel's Gate. So we've got about an hour under motor sail till we get to the gate, and if everything proceeds like this, it's going to be pretty uneventful. I'm surrounded by go fast passenger boats, Avalon Express, and Harbor Breeze in front of us. All right, we're going to go a little wide of these guys. There's a dinghy sailing regatta here. It looks like a few dozen boats. All right, we're just about back. I think we're gonna go ahead and wrap this episode. We'll see you guys next time. Make sure you smash the like button and subscribe if you haven't already done so. Peace out.